Hi, this is the grumpy old IT guy. Let's check out an example of a system-level logon trigger that will crash your server by locking out all admin and users. Why do we want to do this? Because we want to learn the steps an admin or you can take to recover from this dangerous scenario. Let's get started.
Hello, this is Assistant Professor Rajesh. We will cover 4 topics in this lesson. We will create a dangerous system-level logon trigger that will lock out all administrators and users and essentially bring down the server. We will cover a script that contains the steps you need to execute in a Windows command shell to recover the server. We will then perform a live demo to see how this all works. Lastly, we will cover a system-level logon trigger that works and wrap things up with a final demo of a working script that will not bring down the server. Take it away, Professor Grumpy.
Okay, thanks, Assistant Professor Rajesh, for covering the topics. So let's start by looking at a server level trigger. Okay, this is going to be a dangerous one. It'll definitely crash your server. Well, actually not bring it down, but it'll lock everyone out so that basically you can't connect to it or do anything. And it's a real simple one. Okay, here it is. You create trigger TR logon safe, but it really isn't safe, on all server for logon. And there's our begin and end block in a little simple if statement. Use the system function's original login. Okay, so if the original login is not in SA, and in my case, I forgot the SA password on my laptop, so I didn't include my Windows authentication ID, logon ID. So this will definitely lock everyone out. And the host name not in SQL admin PC. So I don't even know if that exists. So if this is the case, what will happen is there'll be a rollback issued and a server will be running, but you really can't get into it. Okay, so let's see how we can recover from this little scenario in our next clip. Okay, how do we recover? Well, you'll see the error message, and it's usually error number 17892. So make sure you look this up in the Microsoft documentation. Do a little search with your favorite browser. But basically what you need to do is run a few steps in what's called a Windows command prompt, and you have to do this as an administrator. And we're going to see how to do this in the demo. But basically you just scroll down to, I believe it's the Windows system folder all the way at the bottom of the Windows menu, and you look for the command prompt. Again, you'll see how to do this in the demo. All right, so what you need to do is bring up the command prompt as an administrator. Again, that's important. And you have 5 basic steps. So the first step is to issue a net stop, and then the server instance and name. Okay, so if it's a named instance, you have to prefix the name with an MS SQL $, and then the name. So in my case, the name is Grumpy 2019 I2 for instance 2. So you stop the server, then you restart it in safe mode with the /f and the /m command. That's in safe mode. Okay, or you can start it with net start, again the server name, and notice the /m has SQL command, SQL CMD. Okay, so this will dedicate the only connection to SQL command. So make sure, by the way, that Object Explorer and SMS isn't running, or it'll eat up that connection. Okay, then in step 3, you issue a SQL command. Again, this is all in the Windows command prompt, -s with the server name, and then -e, and then you'll see the prompts of SQL command. And then you'll issue either a disabled trigger, the trigger name on all server, or better yet, drop trigger, the trigger name, on all server, type in go, right? You're hitting enter for each of these lines, and then finally exit. Then you need to stop MS SQL, whatever the instance name is, and then restart it without any parameters. And that's it. That should work. That'll let you reconnect to SQL Server, the instance that was locked out, and it'll let you fix the trigger. All right, so let's see how we do this in a demo.
Grab a cup of coffee, gang. Here comes our next demo. Take it away, Professor Grumpy.
Okay, welcome to our demo, and what we're going to do here is we are going to purposely crash a SQL Server instance by creating a unsafe trigger, a system level trigger for Logon. And what it's going to do is just try to prevent logons. There's a little if block there, if original login not in SA, and hostname not in SQL admin PC. Now SA, I made a mistake here on this instance. I forgot my SA password, although I do have my desktop admin user ID and password that allows me to work with it. So whenever you install SQL Server, make sure you remember what the SA password is. Okay, so I'm just going to create this trigger, right? If anyone tries to log in, it'll roll back. All right, so now I'll create it. Let me just include the test system triggers database to use that. All right, the trigger was successfully created. All right, let's see if we can bring up a new query, and it's going to try to log in with my real admin ID, desktop-CEBK38L /Angelo. Okay, there it is. There's the message. Login failed due to trigger execution. So we're in trouble right away. And then if I try to use SQL Server authentication, it's for the same server instance. Let's go to SQL Server authentication. There's a user Grumpy I created. Try to get in there and I get the same error message. Okay, so in essence, that's it. The server is running, but we're locked out. Okay, so what do we need to do? Well, I have a script here that has some steps that we can take in a Windows command panel or shell, whatever you want to call it. We'll go here and scroll down to, let's see, Windows System, I believe it was, Windows System. There's our command prompt. We need to run it in administrative mode. Run as administrator. All right, click on yes. We want it to make changes. So we're ready to rock and roll. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to stop that server. All right, so we'll paste that in and stop that server. Okay, now we need to start that server in single user mode. The parameters are /f/m. And if we put the name of the SQL command shell afterwards, it'll reserve the connection for that. But what we're going to do is we're going to get out of Object Explorer, so we don't run the risk of using that connection that's already existing. So let's just restart our server with this command. Okay, let's start MS SQL $, right? You have to include that if it's a named instance. The named instance is Grumpy 2019 I2. Okay, so let's run that. It's starting. All right, next step. Okay, bring up a SQL command shell. Okay, let's copy it, paste it again, and there's our little prompt. So we can now disable the trigger. Here's a disable trigger command. or else let's just drop it all together, right? This is the trigger that got us into trouble. Oops. Okay, let me type that in. Type go, and then exit. So that trigger should be gone. Oops, exit. Make sure you type correctly. I am notorious for typos. Okay, so I think everything went well here. We're going to try to view Object Explorer. Okay, first step, let's pin it. So this looks good. Whoops, didn't pin it. All right, a mouse challenge today. All right, very good. All right, let's see if that trigger is there. Doesn't look like it's there. Let's connect first with the Windows administrator, the Windows authentication. Okay, there it is. Whoop. I forgot one step. Okay, no problem. No problem. I forgot one step, everybody. Okay, let's go to step 4. I need to now put the server in multi-user mode. So first we have to stop the server, and then we have to stop the server with no parameters. So it's starting. Okay, so it looks like it worked. Now we're going to try to connect. All right, we'll try the Windows authentication first. That worked. Okay, it looks like we're good here. Let's try to change the connection with SQL Server authentication this time. There's the Grumpy ID. All right, login failed for Grumpy. I probably typed in didn't type in the password correctly. Okay, there it is. All right. I think I need another cup of coffee. But there it is. Okay, if you create one of these bad boys up here that lock you out, okay, just run these steps. Be careful of your typing and make sure you have the name of the server instance correctly. But that's basically how you recover from these types of errors. So these triggers, these system level logon triggers are very, very dangerous if you do not log them on. Okay, let's get back to our little lesson here. Okay, we're now going to implement a server level trigger that actually does work. I just have some partial code here. We'll see the full code in the demo. But we're going to create a log table called logon denied. I guess that's as good as name as any. Just records the logon time, the logon or the login name. I should be consistent, make them both logon or login, the host name and the action taken. And we're going to introduce some more complex logic. But specifically, the first logic is an if statement that says that if the original logon is not in the SA or the Windows authentication admin or any of the NT authority system IDs, then basically insert a record into the login table that flags it as denied. So let's go right into our demo and see how this works.
Grab a cup of coffee, gang. Here comes our next demo. Take it away, Professor Grumpy.
Okay, let's create a system level logon trigger that actually works, that won't lock you out. Okay, we'll use again that test system triggers database. It's a little handy query. First, select original login and host name. Okay, so these are the ones that you want to include in the trigger logic. So in my case there, you see the important one, desktop CEBK 38L-Angelo. Okay, and then the desktop name. We want to create this login denied table we'll create it and we'll drop it and create it. I think I already created it. Just some basic fields, the login time, the login name, the host name. All right, that's that desktop name that we saw here. So if I'll just execute it again, there's the host name desktop-cebk38l. All right, so here's our trigger, okay? Trigger limit access to business hours. So what this trigger will do, it'll limit access between, well, I exaggerated here, and basically between the hours of 8 and then 20 in the evening, it's not going to let anyone in, just so I could do the testing. But what I'm going to do is in the trigger, when it fires off, the first thing it does is it just inserts a row into that log table. The values will be the original login, the host name, and then the string entering. It's kind of a debug insert statement, so we see we're entering the trigger logic. So it's an if block. So if the date part of the day, we get the date, would get date, then the hour if it's between 8 and 20, and the original login is not in. These are the logins we want to permit. The SA, here's my admin login that I use. So this is the important one that I need to include and that you'll need to include with your own, login, whatever it is. Then the various NT authority system, NT service, SQL agent for the instance, NT service for the instance, and NT authority system. Okay, it's a safe list to include, I think. But check with your DBA. So if the login is not in there, we want to insert a row into that test system triggers table with the original login, the host name, and then the string denied. And otherwise, if the original login is in all these legal ones, then we want to insert a row into that logon denied table, logon granted, and optional. We can also list all of these, else if host name is in the desktop and sysadmin and server admin, we'll insert, host granted. Okay, so let's cross our fingers. Let's create this trigger. All right. We'll enable the trigger. We'll disable the, not the trigger, we will not do that. Let me just comment it out. I'll leave it there in case you need it. We'll truncate the logon denied table. Okay, so right now no one is in there. Let's see what's in the table. There's nothing there. So let's just do a connection here. Just change the connection. We'll try the Windows authentication first. Okay, we should connect without any issues. Okay, let's go look at the table. Whoops, there it is. Let's just look at the table. And we have a whole bunch of information, entering login granted, logon granted, entering so on and so forth. Okay, let's try to log in now with that grumpy connection. Okay, let's change it. All right, this time we'll use SQL Server authentication. Type in the correct password. Okay, try to log in, and there we get our error message that it failed. So it did work. It didn't let Grumpy come in. So we'll not connect. We'll cancel it. We'll go back here, and we will look at that table again and see if it picked up that denied record. Okay, but it doesn't look like it did, so I might have a little bug here, or it's just exiting too soon, so you don't see that something was denied. But actually, it basically worked. Okay, so what we need to do is to disable the trigger. Let's see what this does. Okay, so the trigger is disabled. Let's log in now with the Grumpy ID. Okay, SQL Server authentication. Once again, Grumpy. That's that test ID. And we connect it. So this works a lot better. It worked. I am going to have to go back in and check why we did not see the denied row in the log table, but at least it worked. Okay, let's go and wrap up this little lesson. And here's your homework. It's a two-parter. So starting with part one, make sure you have a server instance that's used for testing. Okay, so on my laptop, I have a fairly powerful laptop, and I have about 3-4 instances, and I run, 2 at the same time. So pretty easy to do with the development license. You can install at least 2 instances. All right, so put it on a test instance that in case you really blow it up and you just can't recover, even if you follow the script that we discussed in the prior demo, then you just reinstall that SQL Server instance. Right, so create a system level logon trigger that will blow up. So once it blows up, start a Windows command shell and follow the steps in the recovery script we discussed in the prior demo. Make sure you can connect the server and log on with the admin and also with the test ID. You'll create at least one test user and on a database also, right? Maybe call it test user 1, whatever you like. Then in part 2, just create a server level trigger that actually works and that logs on, which is allowed to connect and who is locked out. Okay, create that one SQL Server authentication user for the instance in the test database, and then try to log on both as the admin of the server and the logon, right? And your trigger here that you create should have some sort of a mechanism that inserts into some sort of a log table all the activity. Okay, so we actually have 2 demos that we covered. First, the one with the recovery script, and then the second demo was the SQL Server level trigger that actually worked. So try out the homework. Okay, do it on the test laptop or development server with DBA monitoring, and again, I have to stress it, do it on a database that has no important or critical data, whether development or QA or test. Okay, so never ever try out these new concepts while you're learning on a production server. And that's the job of the DBA. Okay, so let's wrap up this lesson.
Hello, this is Assistant Professor Rajesh again. Let's wrap up the lesson. We covered 4 topics in this lesson. We created a dangerous system-level logon trigger that locked out all administrators and users that essentially brought down the server. Next, we looked at a script that contained the steps you needed to execute in a Windows command shell to recover the server. We then performed a live demo to see how this all worked. Lastly, we will cover the system-level logon trigger that worked and wrapped things up with a final demo of a working trigger that did not bring down the server. See you in the next lesson. Greetings. This is Professor Rajesh. Are you a graduate technology student who needs to learn how to program in the structured query language? Are you working at a job and your manager asked you to learn how to set up a database and load it with data so you can create reports for your business users? Are you a seasoned developer in a programming language like Python, but now you need to write programs that access a Microsoft SQL Server database but you do not know how? Last but not least, are you low on cash and need to get up to speed with database programming? This message is for you. Check out Professor Grumpy's site, www.grumpyolditguy.com, to see how you can get quality programming real cheap. Also, there is lots of free podcasts and videos to view so you can see if the courses on this site are for you. Check it out. You will not be sorry. If you decide to register for the course, it is only $29 and change. This is Professor Rajesh signing off. Goodbye for now. Hello, this is Assistant Virtual Professor Rajesh. I am sending an informative message to all SQL developers and prospective SQL developers. Please check out Professor Grumpy's Facebook page, Chief Grumpy Olded Guy, for some interesting and fun podcasts, videos, and other news related to SQL Server programming. Also, check out Artificial Intelligence Art for interesting images created with AI. ChatGPT DAL-A was used to generate the image. Also, check out Microsoft Tsql for beginners and Tsql for experienced developers SQL on Facebook. I almost forgot, check out our course offerings at www.grumpyoldedguy.com. This is Professor Rajesh signing off for now. Cheers for now.